I just filmed this video, but I didn't press film, so I didn't film it. I just talked to myself for 15 minutes. What I want to talk about today, again, is the myths surrounding autism. Just some of them, because there's probably like 200. But I want to talk about just a few of the very frustrating myths that surround autism. I am speaking as a parent. I am always speaking about autism as a parent because I am not an autistic person. My son is an autistic person, and I just want to make the world a little bit better for him. So if a couple of people take anything away from this video and learn something about autism, that would be sweet. Unfortunately, the interest in autism dies around this time of year because Autism Awareness Week is over. But for some of us, Autism Awareness Week is every week, now and forever. Myth number 1, autism is a disease. Autism is not a disease. A disease gives the connotations that someone is sick, someone is ill, someone needs sympathy, someone is dying, someone is going to have a very highly reduced quality of life. They're all the things that you think of when I think disease. When I hear disease, I think cancer. It'll be different for you, but that's what happens when I hear the word disease. Autism isn't a disease. Autism is a neurodevelopmental condition. It's completely different. One, can't be cured. There's no cure for autism. That's another myth, but I may as well address it here as well. So let's just, that'll work. Autism cannot be cured because autism is not a disease. It's a neurodevelopmental condition that you are born with. It does not come from vaccines. We'll talk about that in a second. If you take anything away from this video, please know that autistic people do not need your sympathy. They are not sick. They may need reasonable adjustments, but that's like a lot of people. I need reasonable adjustments. I have ADHD and I've got a face condition called trigeminal neuralgia, so I need reasonable adjustments, but that doesn't mean I'm diseased. Also, now let's address the whole vaccines cause autism thing. Thank you, Dr. Andrew Wakefield. So in, I think, 1998, and I've just said it, but I can't remember what I said. I'll Google it and make sure. In 1998, a lovely doctor named Dr. Andrew Wakefield decided that with the results from his study, that vaccines, specifically the MMR vaccine, which is given in the UK at 12 months, was linked to autism. It's not. That doctor has since lost his license, and the myth has been completely debunked. However, unfortunately, society is not entirely caught up with the fact that the myth has been debunked, so a lot of people still believe this, which is unfortunate. But no, vaccines do not cause autism. My son was autistic before he had his vaccine, and he didn't get more autistic when he had his MMR booster. All I'm glad about is that he doesn't have measles, mumps or rubella. Another myth surrounding autism: if you picture an autistic person, what do they look like? Are they by chance a young boy? A lot of people seem to think that autism just affects young boys, and it does not. Autism affects anyone. You can be anyone. You can be a boy. You can be a girl. You can be somewhere in between. You can be anyone. If you're born with autism, it's because of a neurodevelopmental condition. It does not discriminate. There are obviously people that are more susceptible, people that it's in their genetic line, that they're more likely to have an autistic child or have an autistic sibling or blah, blah, blah. Autism, what was my point? Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, girls. Lots of girls are autistic. Unfortunately, a lot of female autistic people are diagnosed with things like bipolar, borderline personality disorder, just severe anxiety. There's a whole ass laundry list of things that girls are specifically diagnosed with before autism. It takes a lot for a girl to be diagnosed with autism, and it's typically later in life that she'll be diagnosed, which is frustrating because early intervention in autism is so important. Because if your child needs to be in a setting that's specific for an autistic child, that's where they need to be. And unfortunately, girls are diagnosed with all of these other things before doctors consider autism for some reason. Autistic people don't feel emotions. Why would that be true? Of course autistic people feel emotions. Autistic people are people. I really don't understand this myth. I understand in the respect that obviously as a neurodevelopmental condition, some autistic people struggle to sort of gauge facial expressions, understand a lot of nuance. Some autistic people will struggle with empathy and will struggle with eye contact and stuff like that, but a lot don't. So it's really not distinguishable by that. If somebody, my son for instance, gives fantastic eye contact. He always has done. He's very affectionate with me physically. He high fives his sister sometimes. That's new, that's nice. There's a lot of sort of stuff that my son can do that isn't autistic, but he is autistic. And that's not just the case for my son. I speak about my son because he's my personal experience. But I've spoken to a lot of autistic people, a lot of parents of autistic people. I'm very involved in as many autistic communities as I can be. And a lot of the people, I just spat everywhere. A a lot of the people that I've spoken to regarding this completely agree, in the sense that yes, autistic people feel all the emotions that neurotypical people feel. Autistic people sometimes will even feel sort of more inclined to have an emotional response to something because of this specific myth. Sometimes an autistic person may overreact just so you feel that they've reacted. So no, the myth about autistic people not having any empathy is that it's not true. And some of this is actually perpetuated by a charity called Autism Speaks, but we'll talk about them another day. I can't get into that right now. Another one is that you can grow out of autism. And this is something I've actually heard. I personally told somebody that my son was autistic, as I do all the time. I'm so proud of him. I was talking to someone about my son. They asked about one of his behaviours. I told him he was autistic. They then proceeded to tell me that their nephew had autism when he was younger and had grown out of it. Okay, no, that's not true. Either he was never autistic at all, or he's still autistic and now everybody thinks he's not autistic, and that's not good either. I'm sorry to say it this bluntly, but you'll die with autism because it's a neurodevelopmental condition. Your neuro bits in here, you keep your brain the whole time you're alive. So you're born with autism, you die with autism. There is no getting rid of it at any cost in your whole lifetime. But no, you don't grow out of autism. Please don't think that. Please don't expect that. Please do not expect your child to grow out of autism, because they will not meet that expectation. Another myth is that your parenting can cause autism. This goes along with most of the other myths that I've just discussed. Your parenting did not cause autism. It may be that your child began acting up and that's how you that's how autism became apparent to you or a professional, but you did not cause autism. Your child was born with autism, which is a neurodevelopmental condition. It's not your fault. It's nobody's fault. It's autism. So another myth is that autistic people all have sort of a learning delay and a struggle to understand and stuff like that. A struggle to understand. What am I trying to say? Another myth is that autistic people all have some sort of intellectual disability or can't speak or something in that realm. Sorry, I can't stay still. That's not true either. My son specifically, he does have a learning delay. He's a little bit behind. He's about 14 months behind. We're closing the gap. He was 17 months behind. We're doing very well, thank you. But yeah, my son has just started being verbal. He's 4 and a bit, 12, 13 months behind. And that's fine. He may always be 12, 13 months behind. His delay could close. We don't know, because he's 4. But not every child with autism, not every person with autism is affected whatsoever with a learning delay. In fact, it can sometimes be the opposite because of something called special interests, where a person with autism may get specifically quite, I'm going to use the word obsessed, it's going to piss some people off, but it's the word I'm going to use, get obsessed with a certain thing. So for instance, I have ADHD, so special interest is something that I'm very aware of. I had a special interest for a while in horror makeup, special effects makeup. Anybody that knows me personally will remember that. It's something I'm still very fond of. I just don't have the time anymore as a mother of 2. I do have another child. She's just not autistic. I don't know. She's 1. But the point I was trying to make that I'm not really getting out, that autistic people, some have an absolute thirst for knowledge that cannot be quenched. So they are constantly trying to learn new things, gather information from different places, keep learning. And it's not necessarily that all people with autism have an accelerated learning or a learning delay, because just as everybody else in the world, you can have a learning delay and not be autistic. You can be accelerated in your learning and be autistic. You can be non-autistic and be accelerated in your learning, or you could be right smack bang where you're supposed to be and either have autism or not have autism. It's not that people with autism are either superiorly intellectual, that wasn't words, or the opposite and completely sort of lacking any intellectual knowledge. Neither of those are true. Autistic people, just like everybody else, fall where they fall on the spectrum of sort of learning ability. It's not necessarily down to autism. So that sort of touches on my next point, where autistic people are all like gifted and superpower and Rain Man and Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory, and none of that is true. Obviously, some people with autism are extremely gifted, extremely intelligent, extremely good at this or extremely good at that, just as neurotypical people can also be extremely good at this or extremely good at that. There is no evidence to support the idea that autistic people are intellectually, oh my goodness, why can't I say that? Intellectually gifted. It's not that they're necessarily any more intellectually gifted than anybody else. Again, this sometimes turns to special interests. Again, say for instance that an autistic child had a real special interest in maths, say, and just wanted to know everything about maths and learn everything they could at school, and then came home and continued the studies at home, and then went to bed and thought about maths, and then woke up and thought about maths, and whatnot. If somebody has a special interest in something like maths, they could come across as being so intellectually gifted because of how interested they are in maths, how much they know about maths and whatnot. I'm saying maths here. I don't know if you can tell mathematics, not maps, but it could apply to maps as well. I'm so bad with my points today. I don't know why I decided today is when I need to make a video when I can't speak, but I can never speak, so. So someone could be super intellectually gifted at maths and have absolutely no idea about poetry. So somebody could be super intellectually gifted at maths but really struggle in other areas. It's totally dependent on the person. One thing that I want to make super clear, I've said it before and I'll say it again and I'll scream it from the rooftops if I have to. Autism is a spectrum disorder, which means that every individual is affected differently. So of course, some people on the spectrum are going to be so intellectually gifted, they're going to be like geniuses that go to space, something or equally genius. Or there are people that are not necessarily as gifted and may struggle more with education, like me, and may struggle more in educational settings, academic settings, and maybe more suited to other things, and that's fine. But because autism is a spectrum, people fall in different places in the spectrum. They're just a few of the myths surrounding autism that do my head in, that I wish people knew about, because when they meet my son, they're like, oh my god, is he like Rain Man? He's obviously not like Rain Man. 1, he's 4, and 2, Rain Man is not an accurate depiction of autism. So this is all I wanted to talk about. I'm very moody today, I'm very energetic today. This is really what I wanted to get into because it's sort of extraordinarily frustrating. I'm so sorry that I can't sit still. We will chat again very soon, either about autism or some sort of heinous crime. So let's see. Liking and subscribing really helps. That's what other people say at the end of their videos, so I'm gonna say it too. And yeah, just please maybe consider changing some of your viewpoints on autism if some of the points I've made challenge some of the points that you're already aware of. I'm always happy to chat or have a debate if that's sort of what you want to do. I'm analytical everywhere. You can find me everywhere. Yeah, I'll see you very soon. I upload when I want to. I was going to try and do a schedule, but schedules and me, we don't really mix very well, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to upload when I want to. But there will be another video coming soon. For those of you who watched the Christine Palilla video, part 2 for that video I filmed 3 months ago will be out soon, I promise. It's just because at the moment I'm finally back to feeling like myself, and with it being Autism Awareness Month, year, century, blah blah blah, I feel it's really important for me to use this time to talk about autism, because unfortunately soon a lot of people are going to stop talking about autism, but I won't, because I think the world needs a bit more chat about autism, so let's do it.